We continue talking today about Mexico, and this book is really interesting, titled Living in Mexico. This little girl is going to talk to you about all the things that you might see in Mexico when you visit there, and also what she does on a daily basis, just like we do when we wake up in the morning and then at the end of the day when we go back home. All right? The book is written by Chloe Perkins, and we hope that you will learn a little bit about Mexico. Shall we? Hola. That means hi in Spanish. My name is Rosa, and I live in Mexico. Mexico is a country in North America where more than 120 million people live, including me. Mexico is beautiful. Is a beautiful country. Many people come here to visit the pretty beaches and deserts or to hike in the rainforests and mountains. The weather in Mexico is very different from place to place. Near the ocean and rainforests, the weather is hot and humid, and in the mountains and on the plateau, the weather is dry and mild. Mexico has two big deserts in the north. The deserts are home to many plants and animals such as roadrunners, mountain lions, and cactuses that can grow up to the 60 feet tall. Wow, look at that. That's a roadrunner. That's the mountain lion. And that's the cactus that is very tall, 60 feet. Two mountain ranges run down Mexico's east and west sides. Between the mountains is the Mexican Plateau. Many people live on the plateau. And that's this right here. This is where they live. You see the mountains? That's what she was talking about. This is where the people live. Mexico's capital is Mexico City. Mexico City is on the plateau. It was built on top of an ancient city. Guadalajara holds a yearly festival for a special kind of Mexican music called mariachi. Cancun has some of the best beaches in the world. Osaka is home to colorful festivals and folk art. So, mariachi is right here. This is what they play, and this is how they dress. Okay? And this is what she was talking about in Osaka. They have these beautiful dresses and pieces of art that if you're interested in that, that's where you should go. Now, if you like to vacay and have a good old time, this is Cancun in Mexico. I live in La Paz, a city on the Baja California Peninsula of Mexico. I live with my mom, dad, brother, and sister. My parents work for a sailing company. They take people on sailboats to see the gray whales. I love watching the whales. I want to study whales when I grow up. So this is where they live, and this is the type of job that mom and dad have to show people who are interested in gray whales. Now, if you heard in the story, she wants to study that, and in order to study that, that's called marine biology. Marine biology means you're going to study about animals that live in the water, marine, and biology meaning the development of growth until they die of an animal. And this would be exactly what she is looking for, but specifically for gray whales. Now here she goes, ready to go to school. Every morning I get ready for school. I brush my teeth and put on my school uniform. Then I comb my hair neatly. In Mexico, it's important to look neat and clean for school. For breakfast, we eat fried eggs, beans, and a sauce on a tortilla. A tortilla is a round, flat piece of bread. So, she kind of wears the same uniform you do, and she makes sure she looks nice and clean. But if you heard, that tortilla has not only sauce, but it also has beans and fried eggs. That's their breakfast. After breakfast, Mom and Dad drive me to school. My brother and sister go to a school for younger kids. So she's a little bigger than her brother and sister. I put my things away and I talk to my friends about our reports. We are learning about archaeology. Archaeology, which is the study of ancient cultures. There are many places in Mexico where the remains of ancient cities still stand. And that's why they're studying archaeology. Archaeology is a science and it's a study. Okay, you have to go to college to study the study of ancient cultures. And some people specialize in Mexico, other people specialize in Egypt and other places. So it all depends where you want to learn about it, if you want to study that as a career. School starts at 8 o'clock each morning. The first half of the day is taught in Spanish. After snack time, we are taught in English. I speak both languages. Our first lesson in Spanish is about Mexico's history. 10,000 years ago, people in the region started coming together to farm the land. Okay, so she goes to a bilingual school. That means she's taught both in English and in Spanish. And when they teach her in Spanish, they teach her about the history of Mexico. These are the Native Americans that lived in Mexico many years ago. They could be Mayans, but they could also be Aztecs, which is another tribe or group of Native Americans that lived in Mexico. And that being said, in 15 BCE, the Olmec people began growing many things we have today, such as corn, beans, and cotton. Around 600 BCE, the Olmecs split into different groups, one of which was the Mayans. Between 1325 CE and 1519 CE, the Aztec people conquered many groups and brought them together. The Aztec built pyramids and temples, created jewelry and art, and lived in huge cities. So you see, the Olmec was a group and it's subdivided into those groups. So we have the Mayans and the Aztecs. The Aztecs made these pyramids that you see here. This is probably the way that they were dressing back then. They used a lot of gold. In 1519 CE, Hernán Cortés, a European explorer, was sent to claim the Aztecs' land for Spain, and in 1521 he succeeded. The Spanish conquered more and more people and took their land. They called the colony New Spain, and that's not good. Spain ruled for almost 300 years, but the people of New Spain wanted their own country. They wanted to be free. They fought many battles with Spain. The people won their freedom, and in 1821, and New Spain became Mexico. And that is why we call it a special holiday in May, which is, I forgot the holiday right now. But they get to dress like this and they celebrate, which is called Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo, I remember the holiday now, is when the Mexicans defeated Spain and reconquered their country by naming it not New Spain, but naming it what is now called Mexico. After our history lesson, we have a snack. Today's snack is juicy pineapple sprinkled with chili powder and lime juice. After we clean up, we start our math lesson in English. I really like math. Look, I got a 10 on my math test. In Mexico, we are graded with numbers instead of letters. A 10 is the best score you can get. Wow, that's interesting. So they get grades by number. We have geography and science lessons and school. And then school is over at 2 o'clock. My family picks me up for lunch. In Mexico, lunch is the most important meal of the day. My parents have a break from work to eat. For lunch, we are eating quesadillas. Quesadillas are like a sandwich with cheese, beans, and chicken go on top of the tortilla. Then you put another tortilla on top and cook it. As we eat, we talk about our day. That's very interesting how in Mexico they have a lot of time for lunch. Lunch. That's a very important thing. After lunch, my brother, sister, and I go to our after-school programs. In Mexico, many kids attend after-school programs while their parents work. My little brother and sister play soccer. I take a special art class for older kids. We're learning about Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, two famous Mexican artists from the 1900s. Our parents pick us up when their work is over and we go home. So she has an after-school program learning about Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, who are both painters, and they were both married to each other. And her brother and sister plays soccer, which is nice to do for their age. In Mexico, we have a holiday in November called the Day of the Dead. We celebrate the lives of family and friends who have died. There are big parades and celebrations. I help my mom make a special bread. We will eat it at the parade tomorrow. My brother and sister put pretty paper banners to decorate the house for the holiday. And we call that, when we read the other story, papel picado. Papel picado is what they use to decorate for parties. And this is something similar, but not exactly Halloween. It's called the Day of the Dead. It's when they celebrate the ancestors who passed on by putting food and drinks and remembering them at such a time of the year, which is in November, the beginning of November, November 2nd. Dinner time in Mexico. In Mexico, dinner is usually a light meal. Tonight we are having chilled avocado soup. Before bed, I read my book about whales, fish, and dolphins around the world. Someday, I'm going to sail to different countries and see them. Would you like to visit Mexico someday? What do you think? And here's the Mexican flag. Viva Mexico! And remember, smart is not something you are. Smart is something you get.